Welcome back to Gems Podcast. I am the founder and host, Miss Genesis Amaris Kemp, and with me in the hot seat is Tricia Nelson. And here is a bit about Tricia. She lost 50 pounds by identifying and healing the underlying causes of her emotional eating. Tricia has spent over 30 years researching the hidden causes of the food addiction. Tricia is an emotional eating expert and the author of the #1 best-selling book, Heal Your Hunger: 7 Simple Steps to End Emotional Eating Now. She is also the host of the popular podcast, The Heal Your Hunger Show. Tricia is a TEDx speaker, a highly regarded coach, and has been featured on The List, NBC, CBS, KTLA, Fox, and Discovery Health. So without further ado, please welcome Tricia Nelson to Gems Podcast, where we're going to learn about emotional eating.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, Tricia. And so before we segue into our segment on emotional eating, we're definitely going to connect more on a personal level. We could do so by playing a rapid fire game, which is 10 questions, or we could break the ice up front. Which would you like to do?
Well, I think we did a good warm up before you even press record, but we can, whatever you like. I'm ready for you.
Amazing. So I'll just do the icebreaker. We're breaking the ice with Tricia Nelson. So Tricia, share something crazy that you've done in your life or a fun but interesting fact about yourself.
I think one of the craziest things I've ever done was when I was in high school, I went to Spain. I had an opportunity to go to Spain and had an opportunity to do a job in Spain. And the job I chose was to work in a garage. So I was a car mechanic in Spain at age 16, working on Ford cars.
Wow, that is definitely interesting. In Spain, a car mechanic, wow,
Yep.
And Ford cars.
Yep. It was really great. I wore the overalls. I was a grease monkey, basically. And I was it was a small town in the south of Spain, and I was kind of, an oddity, clearly, this blonde chick, amongst all these Spaniards, and they'd come and they'd sort of look at me almost like I was a zoo animal or something. And they'd be like, they want to come see what it was like. And this is a long time ago. So it was unusual to have a woman in a garage, all greasy and working on cars.
Super cool. So now that you kind of have that advantage, do you ever fix on your own car now that you know a little bit about cars?
Well, I did. I mean, I really, I wanted to be able to do that and to know how to change my oil and my tires. And I did learn how to do those things, spark plugs, the whole thing. So for a good amount of time in my 20s, I did change a lot of things in my car and do the basics. But then I became a little bit more of the princess that I am. And I'm like, you know what? We can let somebody else do that.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that interesting fact. Now let's jump into emotional eating. So you started this journey because it was something that you personally struggled with. And now that you overcame that emotional eating limitation, some would say baggage, some would say boundary, or however you want to look at it, what made you focus on this as a core area to become an expert and help other people?
Well, yeah, I mean, so often our mess becomes our message. And my mess was that I couldn't stop eating. I just was obsessed with food, and I love to eat. I love to cook. I love to serve it to other people, go out to restaurants. And it was very exciting for me to eat. And that wouldn't have been a bad thing, but I did gain weight at a young age. I started to put on weight. And by age 21, I was 50 pounds overweight. And, I wasn't okay with that. I was kind of plagued with this big roll of fat on my tummy that I would scrunch up in my hands and imagine cutting off, like you cut fat off the side of a steak. And I thought maybe I'd get some disease where I'd automatically lose weight without having to diet. So it was pretty frustrating to me. And Basically, I did everything that you know how to do. Like I did diets and pills and potions and exercise plans and all this kind of thing, but it never lasted. Like I could lose weight, but I'd put the weight back on, and I had like different sizes of pants in my closet because I was always going up and down the scale. So it was like a constant struggle for me. I was so tired of it, Genesis. And what happened for me is I realized at a pretty young age that I couldn't, like, diets didn't work for me. Like that just wasn't going to get me over the finish line. And I was very blessed at some point to meet somebody who showed me how to deal with the emotional eating. That was really the gap for me, is like, because I wasn't stupid. I knew what to eat. I knew, carbs and sugar probably weren't the best food choices, but those are the ones I wanted. I didn't really want salad, so, or green veggies, so, I had to find out why I wanted the heavier foods, why I would binge, like eat too much in a sitting and feel sick, why I was always getting up in the middle of the night and eating, or late at night in front of the TV. I'd eat and I'd just keep going. Like I wouldn't stop, and then I'd feel sick, and the next day I'd feel mad at myself. So basically, it definitely came from my own experience and pain. And when I did find a solution to deal with the underlying causes of why I was so compelled to eat, and I was able to lose the 50 pounds and keep it off, what happened is I was so excited. When we find a solution, you just want to tell the world about it, and so I started helping my mentor who helped me. I started working with my mentor to help others. And it just sort of became this process of healing that I eventually wrote about in my book, Heal Your Hunger. And I now talk about, and I have created a course around for people. So I just, it was the biggest sore spot in my life to not feel in control with food. So of course, because I have a solution, and I think I have a gift of being able to articulate it pretty well, like to really get in there and help people understand that it's not about the food. And so I feel like that's what God has me here to do, is to share my solution, the solution I found with other people so they can live in freedom. So it's like, I have such a good life. I love my life because I feel like I'm doing exactly what I'm here to do.
I love that. And as you were talking, some of the things that stood out to me was doing a RCA, a root cause analysis of what is driving me to eat and keep on eating. What are some of the underlying issues? And then just tackling those issues. And that allowed you to really come to terms with why, the big why around you were eating, and that being a driving factor. And then once you understood that, then you were able to get the weight off. But the most important thing you said was keep the weight off. And then you turn that mess into a message, which is something I always say, or I say the test into a testimony, to help other people who are struggling with this, because sometimes diets, let's be real, they don't always work for everyone. And sometimes they may start it on a high note, and that diet fades out because they no longer see it as a lifestyle choice. They see it as a chore, something that I have to do in order to keep my weight down. But then if your weight is fluctuating up and down, maybe there are some underlying root causes that is causing that. Could it be a thyroid imbalance? Could it be stress? Could it be hormonal imbalance? There's so many different things that can play into that. I feel like we need to take time to just peel the onion layers back and really go beyond the surface level.
Amen. That's the truth. The symptom is, food, ooey gooey, chewy, yummy foods, and the weight that we don't want, but that's not the problem. That's a symptom of the problem, which is, how we get there in the first place? How do we gain that weight in the first place? What's really going on? So that's the emotions.
Absolutely. And then another thing I'm going to say, and let me know if this resonates with you and some of um, the guests that you work with, the clients, or your ideal avatar, however you choose to address them, is sometimes when people are eating certain foods, they like the way that it sounds in their mouth. Like people like the crunch the crunchiness of potato chips. They like the saltiness. They like the sweetness of candy. They just like the excitement from certain foods that they eat, but sometimes they just can't have a small piece. They're eating and eating. Like, I could eat a whole freaking pack of Oreos. And now I just kind of blame it. Oh, it's because I'm pregnant. I'm eating for two. But in actuality, I shouldn't be eating a whole pack of Oreos. It tells you on the nutrition label to only eat certain amount in one serving. Or sometimes if we go through grief and we lose somebody, that could easily exasperate emotional eating or life circumstances. So have you worked with clients who, whenever you start to break down with them, like, what are some of the reasons why they're eating? Because I know you have a quiz, so that way they could be very intentional and focus on it. But let me know if this makes sense, and what are some of the common themes or some of those underlying causes that you've seen in some of your patients?
You bet. So basically that thing where it's like, ooh, the crunch, or ooh, the sweet, or ooh, the salty, like that, the reason why we feel kind of like we're in nirvana when we're eating certain foods, is because it's satisfying something in us. It's fixing us in the moment, and so what I like to do is talk about what's going on. What is that fix? What are the drivers of that fix? So I call it the Pep Test. So I tell people, take the Pep Test, and I'll explain what that is. PEP is an acronym, PEP. And this is a way of understanding what that food is doing for us. Like, we know what unhealthy foods do to us, right? If we eat too much of it, but what's it doing for us? Like, what's that? Ooh, like, what is that? And so what it's doing, the first P in PEP stands for painkiller. Okay. So even though, yes, those foods are yummy and we're like in nirvana, it's at a deeper emotional level. It's softening the edges of life. Okay. So it's kind of, it's making us not feel the pain that we might be feeling. What kind of pain? You might be like, I'm not in pain, but life isn't easy, right? So maybe we have a death in the family. Maybe we have a job that's not working. Maybe we have a relationship that's going through a rough patch. Just whatever, a kid who's dysregulated. There's so many different sources of pain in life, unavoidable things. And what we do is, because it's a short pain and we don't want to feel it, that's when we reach for food, and the food does dull the pain momentarily. Keyword, momentarily, right? So the P stands for painkiller. That's one of the reasons why we turn to those foods. The E in PEP stands for escape. Okay, now emotional eaters, in my experience, as emotional eaters, we tend to overthink everything. Okay, so as emotional eaters, we're not just overeating. There's certain personality traits that we have as well that drive our eating. One of them is this very overactive mind. Okay, we're overthinking everything. What does she mean by that? Why did they send that to me? Like, why do you look at me that way? Like, I should have said it this way instead of that way. Like, we're like really overthinking things, and sometimes it gets exhausting. Okay, and so and also we tend to have a lot of fear, and so we tend to worry and fret over things. So when you have a mind that's overthinking and awfulizing, thinking of the worst case scenario about everything, you want out. Like, you're like, get me out of this brain. So you want to escape. And food and TV, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. So, you want to just get out, and food and TV is a good way to do it. You get your favorite salty, crunchy, sweet, sugary, whatever, right? And you sit in front of the TV and you just go to town, and before you know it, you're in another world. And so that's the escape that those foods give us. The last P in PEP stands for punishment, which seems counterintuitive because we tend to basically think of food as a reward. But we're not really rewarding ourselves when we go overboard, right? When all of a sudden we're eating and we're going overboard, and then we feel sick, It's like, whoa, that's not a reward. That's actually like, I feel like I just beat myself up. I beat myself up with food. I feel sick. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to, I want to cancel my plans with my girlfriends. So it's like, what's going on there? And my experience is we're not only overeaters, we're also we're over feelers, and we feel guilty very easily. Okay. We tend to take on things, and think, oh, it's my fault. We blame ourselves. And then sometimes for good reason, we feel guilty. I know when I was eating or I wasn't my best. Like I felt I could be kind of bitchy and snappy, and then I'd feel bad about it. I didn't mean to talk to my spouse that way, but it came out kind of wrong, came out sideways because I was already feeling bad. When you feel bad, it's like other people get this spillover of what we're doing to ourselves. So I felt guilty, and then I beat myself up with food. So the PEP, the painkiller, escape, and punishment, are three drivers. And those are the things that, those are ways that we use food as a fix.
I love that. And is that part of the quiz?
No, that's actually just sort of an interesting thing. So that's a way for people to understand basically the connection between their emotions and food, because a lot of times, I know when I first heard the words emotional eater, I thought that's really dumb. I just like food, like I couldn't relate. I'm like, I'm not an emotional eater. But I offer the Pep Test as a way for people next time they're feeling like, oh, I want some chocolate, or, oh, I wonder what's in the fridge. It's not mealtime. I want people to take a pause and say, okay, like, do I really need to go to the fridge right now? Like, am I really hungry? Or is there something else going on? And the PEP, the painkiller, escape, and punishment, is a way for somebody to start doing a little check-in with themselves and saying, is it really hunger on the physical level, or is there some emotional hunger going on? Am I looking to use this food for this reason? So that's what that's about. The quiz is a way for people to find out if they are an emotional eater, if they don't relate. I have this quiz on the homepage of my website, and it'll tell somebody where they are on the emotional eating spectrum. Now, I tend to believe, Genesis, that we're all somewhere on the spectrum of emotional eating, right? Like, so we're, I think God gives us, the opportunity to soothe with food. I think it's kind of a blessing in some ways. And especially if you have trauma as a kid and you don't know how to deal, like, food's right there. Like, that's what I did. I used food. And so I think we all can go overboard, or you go on a cruise, and you're like, it's all free, you've paid for it. So you drink too much, you eat too much, food, and then you gain 5 pounds. Well, if you come home and you've gained 5 pounds and you're like, okay, no more sweets for me, and I'm going to jog extra this next 2 weeks. Well, that's someone on the low end of the emotional eating spectrum, because 5 pounds, not a huge deal. Okay. So low consequences, and also a lot of control. So control and consequences is how, like, basically is how you end up somewhere on that spectrum. So if you take that quiz, you're going to find out if you're on the low end or the high end, or somewhere in between this, on the spectrum of emotional eating. Somebody who can course correct and lose 5 pounds in a couple weeks, they have a lot of control. I couldn't do that. Okay. Because once I kind of started down the rabbit hole, it just got a hold of me and I just kept going. Okay. And so I was more of a food addict, where I would have real binges, like I would not only eat ice cream, but then I'd eat chips, and then I'd go for nuts. So it kind of kept going. And then I had health issues, on account of it, gut issues. People, if they do it long enough, they have joint pain, they have diabetes, pre-diabetes. It gets ugly. The longer you do this, the more the consequences, really stack up. And so that's how you end up on the food addiction side of it. And addiction, is it basically part of what an addiction, or the meaning of addiction, is you do it in spite of negative consequences, and so when people are eating in spite of their doctor telling them they're pre-diabetic, well, that's crazy. Like, why would you do that? Well, you might do that if you're an emotional eater and you can't stop, or you're addicted and you can't stop, and so that's, if somebody takes the quiz though, I have very specific questions which will help, determine where you are on the spectrum. You'll get a personalized score. So, and it's a free quiz. It takes like 2 minutes to take.
That is amazing. I think I'm definitely going to head over and take that quiz as soon as I have some leeway. And Tricia, I know I want to be respectful of your time, and man, it seems like we're coming close to our 30 minutes. So we're going to jump into the call to action segment, but we're definitely going to have you back for a part 2 so we could continue to dive a little bit
Okay.
deeper. So I want you to think about your call to action for the listeners and viewers. We already have the quiz that we're going to challenge them to take to find out where do you fall on the emotional eating spectrum. And then we also want to remind them, what is your relationship with food? Because once they know what it is and they know the why, then I think they will become more conscious and aware of what they're doing. So leave us with your call to action for this segment.
Yeah. So the call to action is, well, I can describe, if you're talking about relationship with food, I can talk about a few different kinds of relationships to see if somebody falls in the categories. Do you want me to do that?
Sure. Just hit on them really brief.
Yeah, really quick. Okay. So food might be your secret lover. Okay, where you do it at night when nobody is awake, and you can't wait to do it. You wait till everybody goes to bed, and then you pull out your goodies. Okay, so it might be your secret lover that people don't even know about. They might think, why is she overweight? She eats like a bird. So you eat like a bird in public, and then you have your secret lover that you rendezvous at night with. So it could be your secret lover. You could be codependent. Okay, where you are like, you can't do anything without food. Like if there's anything tough that you need to do, you got to have your goodies, you got to have your candy bars, and that gets you through. Okay, where food is like, it's helping you get through life. Okay, so you might be codependent with food. You could be somebody who's totally, it could be a fatal attraction. Okay, it could be a fatal attraction where no matter how dangerous it is, you're still doing it. Like you're still doing it. If you remember that movie from the 80s, which, I mean, you're too young for that, but you might have seen Fatal Attraction with Glenn Close and Michael Douglas. And it's like, it is dangerous. It's dangerous. It's bad for you. And you can't wait to do it. Like you just keep doing it. So it could be a fatal attraction. So my question is it one of those things? Is it your secret lover? Are you codependent, or is it a fatal attraction? Or of course, all of the above.
Okay, those are really great ones to know what your relationship with food is. And Tricia, I want you to plug your website and where you primarily hang out on social media.
Sure thing. My website is healyourhunger.com, HEAL, healyourhunger.com. There you can find all kinds of things. My book, you can find a link to my book. You can find a link to my TEDx talk, which is called Emotional Eating: What If Weight Loss Isn't About the Food? You can also find me on Instagram at Tricia Nelson _ Instagram and TikTok at Tricia Nelson _ at the end of Nelson. And I have a podcast called The Heal Your Hunger Show. So definitely subscribe to the podcast. I'm all about talking about the underlying causes of emotional eating and my own personal experience with healing and the experience of my clients.
And there you have it, listeners and viewers of GEMS Podcast. You just heard Tricia Nelson. All of her contact information will be in the show notes. So definitely tap in with her. Go take that quiz to see where you rank on the emotional eating spectrum. And lastly, but not least, make sure you subscribe and share this segment. We are on 40+ platforms. You can see all the videos on YouTube at Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. And if you are interested in becoming a brand sponsor, head on over to genesisamarisKemp.net. Space is limited, but you will be ranked because we are in the top 3% globally out of 2.8 million podcasts per www.listennotes.com. Until next time, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Have yourself an amazing day and know your relationship with food.